Welcome back. You are still watching Today here on ENCA. Now, mental health remains a difficult topic to discuss around the world. Some who suffer from it are stigmatized and remain embarrassed to tell their stories. But Miss South Africa, Shudufhadzo Musida, has decided to change this with the launch of Mindful Mondays in conjunction with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group.
The mental, all of them are interlinked, and once we realized that, then the stigma around mental health could basically be removed, hopefully, because once you look at how the mental can affect your physical and your physical can also affect your mental, you get to a state where you realize that all of them are interlinked, equally as important. You can't have one without the other.
If you could mobilize a group of people, what movement would you mobilize and why?
I would call my movement the mindful movement. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death between people aged 15 and 29. 1 in 3 people are expected to suffer from mental illnesses in their lifetime. So I believe that mobilizing people to strive for mental health would actually fix so many social ills in our society. And that is what I would mobilize.
All right, she joins us now live to tell us more about this. Shudufhadzo Musida, Miss South Africa 2020. Thank you very much for your time. Mindful Mondays, what brought about this idea? I mean, people don't like to talk about mental health. They don't like to admit that they have a mental health issue. And I don't think people are aware that something like anxiety or trauma is also a mental health issue. But what motivated you to start Mindful Mondays?
Hello. I think on the final night of Miss South Africa, when Zazwini asked me that question, I knew the importance of conquering the mind first before trying to conquer anything else. I mean, there's so many social ills in our societies, but one thing that we often overlook is the mental state of the people that we're trying to help. So it was quite important to me to speak about mental health, to inform how we as a society view mental health, and hopefully just stigmatize it, because there's no shame in having mental health struggles, because there's so many resources where people can get help and lead a normal life. But people often prioritize the physical more than the mental, but then they're interlinked. They are interlinked, and they're interconnected in a way where if the physical is not okay, the mental won't be. If the mental is not okay, the physical won't be okay. I mean, with the conversation that I had with the educational psychologist Elzette Fritz, she spoke about how sometimes if you're struggling with depression, you'll find that you're going to get headaches, you're constantly tired, you can't really complete your daily duties. And once we realize the importance of the mental health in terms of leading a healthy life, then we can move forward as a society.
Of course, I saw your first episode when you launched Mindful Mondays. You spoke about how you needed to be doing a course in varsity or tertiary institution, and you were going through some anxiety because of having to do it online, and obviously COVID-19 being something that has added even more stress on people or in society.
Yes. So when COVID-19 first hit, it was around March. I remember I had to still attend class. I still had to maintain the same marks that I had, because I was on a scholarship. So whether or not there's a pandemic, I still need to show up. And the anxiety of all of that was just way too much. So I called my therapist and I tried to explain all of that to her. She told me to focus on the small victories. If you focus on the small victories, they build up momentum to the bigger victories. So sometimes, she was like, sometimes just wake up, get out of bed, take a walk, and that is a small victory. Sometimes, even if you're struggling with your schoolwork, just do an hour. Try an hour a day, 30 minutes a day, and then eventually you can build it up to more hours, maybe even 4 hours, because I couldn't even do my schoolwork. So, because it was just too much, because thinking to myself, the online learning is something that I'm struggling to understand, but I'm still expected to show up. And then she's like, no, just try an hour a day. So I did that. I started with an hour, and then eventually I could study for about 5 hours, and now I'm graduating.
And of course, this also speaks to the matric class of 2020, the IEB getting their results last year. They were also they also had to shift from going to school and learning online. But on Monday, this coming Monday, I think it's the 3rd episode that you'll be doing on Monday. Am I right? How has the reception been? How have people received it?
The reception has been absolutely amazing. I mean, some of the videos that we posted, the first one, it was close to 80,000 people that watched. and that is a lot for a social media platform. We try to reach as many people as possible, and you find that a lot of people are sharing their stories. They're less ashamed to speak about mental health, so we're normalizing the conversation of mental health, and which is quite important in terms of trying to destigmatize it. A lot of people, lives are being saved to the point where people call SADC now after episodes and say, okay, I want help, you know. And then I get messages saying, I called SADC yesterday and the show helped me find the courage to get help. And there's so many resources available, but a lot of people don't know about them because there's so many issues of affordability and accessibility in this country. But there are resources at places like SADC that can help a lot of people. So the reception has been absolutely amazing in terms of like people sharing their stories, people feeling like they have a safe space, people realizing that they're not alone, people realizing that it's okay to not be okay, but also realizing that there's so many places that can offer the help that they need.
All right, I'm going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much and good luck with Mindful Mondays. That is, of course, Miss South Africa 2020, Shudufhadzo Musida, on her initiative, Mindful Mondays.